Hey everyone, here we're going to start our next learning target. It's actually going to be target 4, where we solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. So here, when we talk about the quadratic formula, we use it to find solutions of an equation, right? So again, solutions are always x equals some number. Now, what we need to do is put the equation that we get in this form: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. If an equation is in that form, this is just standard form, we can find the solutions to that equation using the quadratic formula, which is x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's the quadratic formula, and we're going to show you how to use this and really what it means. But we use this formula, okay, to find solutions to the equation. Again, opposite b means just like whatever the sign of b is, we're going to do the opposite of it. And then plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Well, those are touching, so those are multiplying, okay? And then all over 2a. So let's see how this works. So first step, write the equation in standard form, right? Meaning make it equal to 0 and put the terms in descending order. So I need to eliminate the 5x from the right side. I do that by subtracting 5x from both sides. Now, on the left side, I need to order them properly. So descending order by value of exponent means 3x squared is first, and then minus 5x, and then minus 12 equal 0. Okay, so the second step now that we've got all the terms on one side, 0 on the other, the terms are in the correct order, highest exponent to lowest exponent. Now we're going to identify a, b, and c. So a is the number in front of x squared. So a is going to be 3. B is going to be negative 5. And then c is negative 12. So just identifying those numbers again. So a is the number in front of x squared. So in this case, a is 3. B is the number multiplied by just x. So in this case, it's the green, negative 5. And then c is your constant term, the just number only, so negative 12. Notice it wasn't just 12. The sign to the left is part of that term, so it's negative 12. All right, so let's use this formula. So I got x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, I actually said that in kind of a little bit of a song manner. It's a YouTube video that I attached to this. It's called Quadratic Formula Song with Pop Goes the Weasel. Basically, that melody from Pop Goes the Weasel like helps you remember the formula because in a normal year, right, you would have to memorize that formula. Okay. Anyway, watch the video. Helps you kind of remember how the formula goes. So opposite b. Well, if b is negative 5, opposite of a negative 5 would be positive 5. And then it's plus or minus the square root of b squared. So negative 5 squared, negative 5 times 5, a negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Again, I got 25 by doing negative 5 squared. And if you need to do that on your calculator, put the negative 5 in parentheses and then square it. So negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Then it's minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is negative 12, all over 2a. So 2 times a. All right, this here is called the substitution step. In other words, all that we're doing is just taking the a, b, and c values and plugging them into the quadratic formula. Now we're just going to chip away at it one small step at a time. So if I don't use it and I'm not on that current step, I'm just going to bring it down and write it. So I always need to first start out by simplifying what's under the radical. So that 25 is going to come down, and I need to simplify or evaluate the string of three numbers. So those three numbers all touching each other. If numbers are touching each other, that means they're being multiplied. So I'm going to type in my calculator -4 times 3 times -12. Those three numbers all multiply together gives me a positive 144. Now it's really, really important, guys, that when you multiply these three numbers together, so in your calculator, -4 times 3 times -12, that negative comes with when you do these string of three numbers multiplied together. And then when it is positive 44, you write the positive. Don't just be like, oh, it's -4ac, so it's always going to be a minus. That's a big no-no. I got positive 44 by multiplying those three numbers together, so it needs to be a plus sign, okay? And then here in the denominator, 2 times 3 is just 6. All right, clear this stuff out of the way. Now I'm almost done simplifying what's under the square root. So 25 plus 144, okay, is 169. Again, the 5 plus or minus and the all over 6. I didn't do anything with those this step, but I did have to bring them along and write them. Now, 169 is actually a perfect square, meaning when you take the square root of it, you get a nice integer answer, and that's 13. So the square root of 169 is 13. Now, and we're hopefully used to doing this, but when we have a plus or minus, we have two different setups. So one setup comes when I add the 13. The other setup comes when I subtract the 13. So 5 plus 13 is 18. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So x equals 3 is one solution. And then here, 5 minus 13 is -8. -8 divided by 6 can reduce to -4/3. So those are my two answers now. They're not integers, they're not decimals, so I don't need to worry about any of this stuff, okay? So my two solutions here are x equals 3 and then -4/3. All right, here, this next one, part B. Again, first step, I need equals 0. So I get equals 0 by moving that 9. I subtract 9 from both sides. I get 4x squared plus 8x minus 2 equals 0. And then say, okay, well, a, the number in front of x squared is 4. Number in front of x, or the b value, is positive 8. And then the c value, the constant or number only, is -2. So now when I plug those numbers, a, b, and c, into my formula, so x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I'm going to plug those in. Opposite of 8 is -8 plus or minus b squared. So 8 squared is 64. And then minus 4 times a, which is 4, times c. All over 2 times a, or 2 times 4. Okay. So again, let's start with under the radical. So that -8 out in front, and then the plus minus, I'm just going to bring him along, but I need to start with a string of three numbers. all multiply together. And again, the negative is part of the negative, or is part of the 4. So it's negative 4 times negative 2. So in my calculator, I'm going to do negative 4 times negative 2. So negative 4 times negative 2. That gets me a positive 32. Okay. Positive 32. So because it's a positive 32, I write plus, not minus. I write plus. So plus 32 all over 8. So then here, I got negative 8 plus or minus, and then 64 plus 32 equals 96, and then all over 8. Okay, shoot. 96 is not a perfect square, right? So when I do the square root of 96, I'm going to get a decimal. So if your answer is going to be a decimal, I'm going to pump the brakes. I'm going to stop for a second and write my final answer with the radical still in it because I have not done any rounding. Okay, so x equals negative 8 plus or minus square root of 96 over 8 is my exact answer. Now when I do the decimal answer, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just write things down that you should be typing into your calculator. So you're going to type in negative 8 plus square root of 96, enter. So I'm going to do that right now. Negative 8 plus square root of 96, enter. That's like 1.797. But then I also need to remember to divide by 8, right? Because it's all over 8. So that answer that's currently in my calculator, 1.7979. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this on the Desmos calculator because I think most of you probably are using that. So bear with me for a second. Math tools, scientific. All right, so again, what I just did was the negative 8 and then plus square root of 96. So there's that 1.79795. Okay, but then that's just the numerator. It's all over 8. So I'm going to do this enter. I'm going to take that answer, right, what I just got, so see how that's highlighted in blue, then divided by 8. That gets me 0.225 because, again, I got to round to 3 decimal places. So the 4th decimal place is 7, which means I need to round up the 4 to a 5. So it's 0.225. So here, my first answer is 0.225. But then I also, right, on my calculator need to do negative 8 minus square root of 96. Press enter. So go back over here. New line. I got negative 8 minus square root 96. Oops. Right, the negative 8. So in blue here, negative 8 minus root 96, enter. So I get this negative 17 and some change. And press this blue button in the bottom right corner. And then I'm going to take that answer and divide it by 8. Because remember, all of that is over 8. And then my second solution in decimal form is negative 2.225. So negative 2.225. All right. So again, we only had to do that on this one because we didn't have a nice integer answer like we did on number 1. We had the nice integer answer because we took the square root of a perfect square. Square root of 169 was nicely 13. Okay. Here, though, the square root of 96 is that decimal. So before we got the decimal, we came over here and said, hey, this is the exact answer. The answer with the radical still in it. And then we just went through how to get the decimals on a calculator. All right, just a couple more here. So part C, I got to get this 2x from the right side to the left side. So when I subtract that, I need to be mindful of what the like term is. The 7x, because it's just x, is the like term with the negative 2x. So that's plus 5x and plus 8. That equals 0. And then here my a value is 3. My b value is 5. And my c value is 8. So quadratic formula, x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then I'm just plugging those numbers. So opposite b, so opposite positive 5 is negative 5. And then plus or minus b squared, so 5 squared would be 25, minus 4a, which is 3, c, which is 8, all over 2 times 3. All right, again, let's start with our focus under the square root. So the negative 5 plus or minus, just bring him along. I got 25, and then I need to take this string of 3 numbers. So in my calculator, negative 4 times 3 times 8. So I clear all here. Let's see. I got negative 3 times 4 times 8, or negative 4. Negative 4. Okay, come on. Negative 4 times 3 times 8. I got negative 96. So, man, okay, in orange I got minus 96. And because it was a minus on the calculator, right, the negative 96, that's what I'm going to write. So it's not positive 96, it's negative 96. And that's all over 6. Well, 25 minus 96, so next line, right? 25 minus 96 equals negative 71. So again, just kind of baby steps. I'm chipping away at this, but that's negative 71. Now, what do I notice here? The square root of negative 71? I can't do a square root of a negative, right? Even if I try this, the square root of negative 71, it's undefined, right? I can't take the square root of a negative. So what's kind of nice, actually, is since we can't take the square root of a negative here, we get to stop, and there's no solution. No solution here for this problem because, again, cannot square root a negative number. All right. Guys, one last one here. So then here, we need to start off by getting equals 0 on one side. So I need to remove the 27, and I do so by subtracting 27 from both sides. So negative 27 is not a like term with the 2x squared or the 3x. So I just write them in order, right? Highest exponent to lowest. Second step here, I get a value is 2, b value out in front is 3. The c value here is negative 27. So here, quadratic formula, x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I know I have a great singing voice, guys. All right, anyway, opposite positive 3 for the b value, right? Opposite b would be negative 3. If it's positive 3, then opposite of 3 is negative 3. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root of b squared. B is 3, so 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9. And then minus 4 times a times c. All over 2a. All right, so again, I just start out by getting my A value, B value, and C value. Now, again, we start off by focusing in on the string of three numbers here. So I got -4 times 2 times -27. So typing those in, -4 times 2 times -27 equals 216. So I got that -3 plus or minus 9. And then the 216 was positive, so it's plus 216 all over 4. That gets me -3 plus or minus 216 plus 9 is 225 all over 4. And now here the square root of 225 is 15. So -3 plus or minus 15. I took the square root. The square root of 225 is 15, so the square root's not there anymore. But now I got to consider the two setups. So -3 plus 15 over 4 and -3 minus 15 over 4. So -3 plus 15, well, that's 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So there's my first answer. My next one here, I got -18 divided by 4. I can reduce that a little bit further and get -9 halves. Or if you want to write it -4.5, that's fine as well. But there are my two solutions. I didn't have a decimal answer, so I don't need to worry about this. And if there's not a decimal answer, I don't need the exact radical form because, guys, these are exact, right? 3 is exactly 3. -4.5 is exactly -4.5. It's a decimal that stops. It doesn't keep going. So that's all I need for my answers for the last one. And guys, thanks for watching, and we'll do more of this tomorrow. Thanks.